Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Sandeman Street Podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. I'm Andrew and I'm joined by my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are you today?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I take it you'll be all giddy and excited with the transfer rumours that are swirling around Tannadice this evening.
Of course. Always good to get a little club legend back.
Well, we'll get into that later on. But first of all, my usual message, if you could follow us on our social media, that would be very much appreciated. On Twitter, we are at Sandeman ST Pod. That is at Sandeman ST Pod. On Instagram, at the Sandeman Street Pod. And on YouTube, we are at the Sandeman Street Podcast. If you could give us a follow, subscribe to our channels, that would be very much appreciated. Jack, only one place to start, and I know I say that pretty much every week, but I think Dens Park, Dundee 3, Hibernian 3 is probably a good place to start this week's podcast. A thrilling encounter, as they say, which I witnessed, and surprisingly witnessed the equaliser because I'm a bit of a leave early type of person, but stayed in my seat and witnessed Cameron Congreve's stunning equaliser. I don't know how much of the highlights you've seen of it. It was an absolutely brilliant game, and I want your perspective from it before I digress.
Obviously, I watched the highlights before the podcast started, and the highlights mainly were just the goals. I think you've seen a chance Danda had. He scuffed it wide. Apart from that, every highlight I'm almost certain was a goal. So shows that it was an exciting game. It would have been good to see more of the highlights, see more of the chances being created and whatnot. It would have shown us a better spectacle overall, probably. But from my point of view, obviously I can only judge it by the goals, but it seemed well deserved. Dundee seemed to create good chances for their goals. Obviously, defensively it's not great, but you can't complain with a point against Hibs.
No, especially given they've been defeated by Hibs twice this season already, and especially in the first game of the season, they were well beaten, even though the scoreline maybe doesn't suggest that they were well beaten on that occasion. A wee gripe I had, I came in on Saturday evening and I thought I'll stick Sportscene on, Match of the Day on as well. And one of the things I like about Match of the Day down in England, and you would think it would translate up to Scotland as well, given that they're both made by the same company, is that in England on Match of the Day, 9 times out of 10 they'll put what is riding on the game to one side, and they'll just pick the running order on its merit, on what games are probably the best ones to watch on that day. And the first game on Match of the Day was Burnley 3, Brentford 5, or Burnley 3, Brentford 4, or whatever it was. Burnley were 3-0 down with 2 goals disallowed. Then it goes to Sportscene, and a 3-all draw is last. Now I know that that's a gripe for me because it's my team and I want to watch my team, and I understand that Hearts in the title race, Motherwell in the title race, they're the first 2 games, but a 1-0 win and a 2-0 win with United no leaving their half, is it really that important to show that first? Show an entertaining game first, surely.
From a business point of view, putting it last is the best thing they can do, because it retains your watch rate, and you're going to sit through it the whole show watching it, hoping that you can stay to the end, so they can make whatever revenue they want. So from a business point of view, absolutely makes sense. As for a fan point of view, it's probably not what's wanted, but everyone knows that the business will always take priority.
I suppose you could maybe argue that if it was Sky, but with the BBC and it being a licence fee that's bullied at the taxpayer, and maybe a bit different.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
true.
We'll not get into that sort of thing today. The game itself, though, started off pretty slowly, and then it burst into action for a period of 5-10 minutes. Dundee conceded a really sloppy goal. Nicky Carrion good ball in the box, and it's a decent header from the boy, but defensively Dundee all over the place. It's not great defensively from Dundee. They then get themselves back into the game. A great run from Simon Murray. He seems to have hit a bit of form again. Great run in behind. Rocky Bashiri, who I thought was actually quite decent on Saturday, Don't know what he's up to. He's halfway back chasing Simon Murray and he's claiming for offside and everything in an era where everybody knows that VAR wait until the conclusion of the play and then they decide if it's offside or not with the linesman. So play to the whistle. But anyway, we've got a stroke of luck as well with it deflected in. Second half, yeah, I thought Dundee had their moments. They obviously scored a really good goal from Luke Graham. Concede two really sloppy goals again. The second goal, the third goal, so to say, McGrath's goal is a great finish. Jinks his way onto his right foot and slots it in. It's a great finish, but defensively, Dundee could do a lot better for that. And obviously, the second goal with the boy getting over the top, very similar to Simon Murray getting in. Obviously, both are on side from VAR having a look at them. And then in the last minute, what a goal from Cameron Congreve. What a goal. And I know that he's been getting a lot of plaudits this season, and rightly so, because he's been very, very good, him and Tony Ugan on each wing. But that's what's been lacking for me in his game. Goals. That's only his second goal this season, unless you give him the one at Pittodrie last week, which I don't think he's actually got now. So he's only scored 2 league goals all season, and hopefully between now and the end of the season in May, he could add a handful more, because that's really been all that's been missing from him this season. He's been great with the assists. I think he's probably still the highest assister in the league, and he's been great in Dundee's all-round attacking play. He just needs to add some goals, but what a goal that was to grab a point. And as I say, usually I'm one for heading to the exit, especially when you concede a goal that late into the match, but I stayed for it. And it's mental the perception that you get when you're in the ground, because I sit quite low down and I also sit towards the other end of the pitch from where that goal was, and I actually thought he was wide, but he was inside the box. He was wider than what he was. So when I seen it back and I realised that 1, he was outside the box, 2, he was more central, and 3, if you watch the layoff to him from Ryan Astley, this isn't a criticism of Ryan Astley, but it's not like it's like flush and it's just rolling along the ground to him. It's bobbling and bouncing towards him. So for him to get that control on the ball and right into the top corner, right across the goalkeeper, I mean, what a finish it was.
Yeah, very good finish by the boy. He is a player that I think is really good and probably a bit better than Dundee's level. As you mentioned, his goals haven't been there really this season. Don't know if that's really part of his game, probably more his technical ability and laying off stuff and whatnot, but he scored a couple of good goals. If he could add that to his game, he'd definitely become a lot better player and probably break into the Swansea squad. So, yeah, he's a good player. Dundee's goals, you kind of gripe with them, and defensively, obviously, like you said earlier, not great, but you're going to concede chances against a team like Hibs, and you were able to find a way back into it, so and ultimately get the draw. So yeah, it's a good point for this team, and moving to next week, you've got another tough fixture, so
I know,
I hope you can push it on there. Yeah.
We'll obviously talk about that later on. Move on to the United side of things, though. Last midweek, they hosted Aberdeen at Tannadice. Their pitch got a lot of criticism of Aberdeen's interim manager, Peter Leaving. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I mean, the pitch was terrible.
I mean, yeah, it's not for me to say, but yeah. And the game wasn't very much better. A 0-0 draw. Obviously, then go to the game on Saturday away to Motherwell. To me, from all what I've heard, I mean, I've only seen highlights, I've seen the goals and whatever. It seemed like, and from the theme that I'm getting of a lot of people who were there and whatever, it just seemed like Jim Goodwin just set up, go man for man, try his best to get out of there with a point. And it sounded very much like what Dundee did when Dundee went there a few months ago. Obviously, Motherwell are doing very, very well just now, but surely you've got to have a bit more belief in your own ability, if that was the case, may I add.
Yeah, I think he's played a rotated squad for this the Falkirk game coming up, or the St Mirren game even. He's probably seen them as priority, and so he did field a slightly rotated team, I believe. But yeah, from what I've heard, it was man to man. I think at some points in the game, Crestes was marking Elijah Just, and he was in their half defending just as a centre half. He should be back defending. I've seen a few of the highlights. Ended up being a foot race between Marshonise and Seville, and Marshonise won that almost every time. I think when you're coming to these games, you've got Goodwin's also set us up to try and not lose, try and win our individual battles. But when you've got a boy like Marshonise, who's in great form, I think he scored 21 goals this season, you really need to double team him. Even if it leaves you a bit weaker elsewhere on the pitch, I think he's too much of a threat, too much of a goal-scoring threat for teams to ignore and just put one man on him. So I think that's probably a bit of a criticism for Jim Goodwin. But looking at the game, I didn't see much of United. Almost all the highlights were Motherwell. They were by far the better team. I heard people saying that they would have no criticisms if it was 4-5-0. It seemed like they completely dominated us, and if that was because it was a rotated team, fine, but it's not acceptable either way. I know Motherwell are flying, and I think they're the form team in the league.
The thing is, sorry to interrupt you, Jack, but the thing is like, yeah, they're flying, and yeah, they're the form team in the league, and all of that stuff, and I'm not discounting any of that in any way, shape or form to disrespect Motherwell, because they've been very good this season, and they're in the title race, or on the cuffs of the title race, on merit. But you're talking about a team that only a handful of months ago, United took on at Tannadice and drew with. So, it's not like they're playing against, like, vintage Real Madrid. Surely, as a supporter of United, or as a staff member of United, a manager of United, a player of United, you've got to be a bit more ambitious. Like, have a bit of belief in yourself. Like, when Dundee went there in December, I think it was, and they played exactly the same. Now, slightly different in Dundee's case, because it was when Dundee were still kind of finding their feet with their new team and whatever, and Presley was going into a lot of games like this, and when he did open up, he was getting battered, i.e. the game at Pittodrie earlier in the season when he tried to open up and he got done 3-0 in the first half and ultimately 4-0. He done this. He went to Fir Park and he stayed solid, and he almost got a 0-0 draw. I think they scored very late. You're talking about a United team who, and I know that they've not been very good this season, they've been bitty, probably is the best way to describe them. But you're talking about a team that went over to Vienna at the beginning of the season and gave them a right good go.
Yeah, because they went for it, and they've not went for it since.
They're capable of putting a performance away from home against a good team.
They went
to Ibrox and got a point.
It's the manager ultimately. He's setting us up not to lose, and I don't think he trusts the players we've got. But like you say, Vienna, we're putting a very good performance against Vienna.
Scary. If that's the case, then and he's no trust in the players, then that's scary, because they're his team.
Yeah, I know, but every player's got worse under Jim Goodwin. If we look at, say, as games against Vienna, we went for it and we played good football and we got a couple of good draws against they probably weren't a great Vienna team, but a team of high reputation such as Rapid Vienna. You've got to be happy with that. And then we go in the league and we've basically defended every game since. We've barely went for a game. We've barely went for it, and I don't know why. It must be a managerial choice. It must be a tactical decision, because I don't see why he sticks with three at the back. If you're conceding goals anyway, you might as well just try and score more goals than the opposition. Look like this game against Motherwell there. If we attack the ball more, like I say, we could nearly conceded 4 or 5 goals apparently, and we couldn't have complained, right? We're not being better just to chase the game anyway, because we're giving up them chances anyway. So you might as well chase the game and try and score more goals. Push a player further up the pitch instead of having 3 at the back and then losing your battles anyway. You might as well score more. So I think it's on the manager.
I think he's very, very safe, and he's probably too safe, and he's in good at times. And that's one of the occasions. Like, I mean, I didn't watch the games where they got a point at Ibrox, they got a point at Tynecastle. I didn't watch that game, or those games. I didn't watch the game of the weekend. They could have played very, very similar, and the outcome was just different. I don't know. So it could be a formula that he's tried in those 2 games, and it's worked. And he's then tried again at Fir Park, and it's not worked. So who knows? And I'm not a football manager by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm not an expert on it either. But I just think that you're playing against Motherwell, regardless of how good they've been, and you do give them respect, of course you do, but to go to Motherwell and go man for man and sit back, and you've got your left centre half, like you say, chasing the ball just about, like swap players over and be a bit more dynamic. Like I've heard some people speaking about that they were away for half an hour into the match, like way back to the pub.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like people are getting bored, mate.
No wonder.
And ultimately, it's an entertainment. And if you're playing shite and you're playing turgid rubbish every week, you're not going to want to watch it.
No, I couldn't believe it when, and I've probably not actually specifically said this since, but when Dundee played United at the New Year, I couldn't believe it how what I was watching because United they just didn't look threatening in the slightest, and Dundee played very well in the first half, and in the second half, United were always going to come back into the game. Dundee had something to protect; they were going to sit back, and they come into the game a lot, but they didn't really ever look like they were ever going to score.
I think
And
probably scored more goals from set pieces than open play this season. That could be I could be pulling that from my arse, but it seems
you
like
would
every
have to
goal we
look that
score is from a
up.
set piece.
You would have to look that up, but I mean, we're speaking about these two games since we've last recorded. Aberdeen at Tannadice, Motherwell at Fir Park, and they've drawn a blank in both of them. Now, as we keep saying, I mean, Motherwell have hardly conceded a goal this season, so it's no shame in that. But have a bit of a go, like be be a bit more expansive. Like, it's a difficult one because I understand that if it's easy for us to sit here and say have a go, when you go put that into practice and you could be Jim Goodwin on Saturday morning and say, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a go at them. We're going to open up. We're going to go for them. We're going to press them high, and you get spanked 6-0. So I get there's a balance to find, but it just seems hard to accept, probably because it's Motherwell. I mean, see if you were to go away to Celtic or Rangers or something like that, when Celtic or Rangers are at peak of their powers, and you were to get beat 2-0, you'd go, okay, good result, move on to next week. It's probably just because it's Motherwell, and that's probably not the right way to look at it. But yeah, I just think that it's maybe not, where I'm coming from is maybe not purely based on this weekend. It's based on a long list of times that this has happened under Jim Goodwin. And I'm the expert, as I say, because I don't watch United very often. But it just seems to be like a bit of a recurring theme.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like even looking at the killer game, mate, right? We've taken the lead. We're 1-0 up, and it just gets so negative. Like we were the better team that game. We probably could have been probably a couple more up, but we're 1-0. We're 1-0 up, and Goodwin goes negative as soon as we score, and then invites all the pressure on it, and we concede. Like it's just so negative. Like bring a bit of passion into it. Send boys forward. Try and create chances. Try and score. The chances we're creating clearly aren't good enough because our strikers are getting no service. Boys like I think Fata and Dolcek are top goal scorers potentially. Dolcek's no played since October, so we're creating nothing, and it's very hard to watch. I'm sure. Obviously, I don't get to go to the games. I'm not in Dundee. I don't get to go to the games much, but it must be torture to watch. And I think you're starting to see that
Well,
now.
it's hardly appealing to you. I mean, if
No,
you were
exactly.
playing well, you'd come through.
Exactly. Like attendances, I think are going to start dropping. I think Ogren will be surprised at how few season tickets there'll be because people don't want to go and watch rubbish every week.
Well,
So
you'll see what happens with the derby being a week on Sunday. When United usually sell out the allocation at Dens in about point 0.4 of a second, it might take 0.6 of a second before they sell it
yeah,
this time.
that's true. Yeah, but yeah, mate, it's really frustrating as a United fan. Obviously, we can't do nothing about it. So there's like it is what it is. We've just got to deal with it as it comes. But it is very frustrating considering last year we've done pretty well and managed to get European football, and now there's talks of us being in a relegation fight. So it's not what you want to see, but ultimately it is where we are. So
It's classic second season syndrome. I know that we spoke about this not too long ago and a few episodes ago. United are just in their second season syndrome. They just need to get through the season and move on, I think. They're not going to get relegated. Livingston are shite and Kilmarnock are shite. Kilmarnock had a bit of a mini revival under McCann. Knew it wouldn't last. They're no good enough, eh? Look, this could come back to bite me in the arse. And if it did, I would not be surprised in the fucking slightest being a Dundee supporter. Dundee are capable of anything, mate. But United will not get relegated this season. They've got enough points on the board just now to see themselves through. And you need to think, I think they've got 30 points. Kilmarnock have got 21 maybe.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You've already got a 9-point buffer. And that's that. And so you need Kilmarnock to win 3 games of football without United winning or picking up points. And Kilmarnock have barely won a game of football a season.
Well, if you look at Goodwin's record in the split, in 10 games with United, we've lost 9 of them. In the season we got relegated, we were outside the relegation spot. He managed to get us outside the relegation spot. We lost every game, I think. Well, yeah, we lost every game that season, and we got relegated because of it. I don't think he's a big-time manager, and so he's not capable of doing them big games, like the games that matter, and getting the results. So Killie have a very good chance of picking up at least a few points and making the pressure a lot higher on Jim Goodwin and United.
The thing is, as well, you need to remember, Jack, is it's not just that you've got United on 30 and then Kilmarnock on 21. You've also got Aberdeen on 29, Dundee on 28 and St Mirren on 24. You've got teams in between you that could go before you go. And
yeah, that's true.
You need to remember that Aberdeen are fucking shite, right? Aberdeen are honking, mate. You've got Dundee, who on their day can be a good team, but they're very inconsistent. Dundee are capable of going between now and the end of the season, picking up 4 or 5 wins and being really comfortable, or putting themselves right into it. And Dundee have got a hard run of fixtures before they go into the split. They've got Motherwell on Saturday, they've got the Derby, they've got Celtic at home, Hearts away, and Killie away.
That's a hard running.
It's a hard run of fixtures before the split. So you could absolutely, you could be sitting here before Dundee going to the split, and Dundee could have picked up nothing.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we've got a slightly easier run. I think we've got St Mirren. I'm going to see who else we've got here. St Mirren, we've got Hughes, Celtic, Rangers, and then Livy.
Yeah, so it's not too dissimilar, but
no.
I just think that because of the buffer you've got, that there's also teams within that buffer as well. You should be alright. St Mirren as well. They won that cup and they've turned into blanking Lochie United.
Yeah, they've not been great.
No disrespect to Lochie United, but they've not been great. And I just think that you'll be fine. You'll pick up enough points. As for the whole thing with Jim Goodwin, though, I seen that United posted a thing recently on their socials where they were saying that it's 3 years since Jim Goodwin signed to become the manager of Dundee United. And I never looked at the comments or stuff, but I could imagine there's a lot of United fans now who aren't happy with him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you want to know an interesting fact that I've seen on one of the forums? That come April, if Jim Goodwin is still manager, he'll be the longest serving manager of United since Jim McLean.
God, that's wild.
That's crazy.
Is
and
that
he's
right?
hopeless. Yes.
You would have thought that like Houston or McNamara would have been there longer than him.
Houston was only with us a couple of years, I think.
Well, Houston, what was he, 2009, 2010, round about that time? And he left in 2013, so he's about 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come
McNamara.
End of April, it's he'll be the longest server since Jim McLean.
McNamara went 2013 to 2015, so yeah, it's still 2 years. That's wild.
Crazy, yeah, that's crazy if you ask me. And he's got a relegation in there as well.
I mean, in fairness, the relegation shouldn't really come solely down to him. It should come down to the United goalie that they signed.
But that's true. Yeah.
The getting out of the championship, Jim Goodwin done exactly what I would have wanted him to do. He went and signed boys like Gallagher, Kevin Holt, Grimshaw, kind of just proper hardened pros that you just knew would get United out that week. That's exactly what he done. And I think that's Jim Goodwin's like kind of thing.
It's bread and butter.
His bread and butter, yeah. And yeah, done really well last season with the nucleus of their championship team, and he's ripped it up too quickly, in my opinion. He should have, and again, it's. You say this, but then you look at them where they are. Like, for example, so Kevin Holt is a different one because he wanted to leave, and look where he's ended up. But he could have kept Gallagher. I know that it's you. A lot of people would say, well, look at what Gallagher's doing this season. He's surrounded by a lot of other players who are having a shocker as well, by the way. So I think he was too quick to get rid of certain people. I think he could have phased it in a bit slower, but maybe next season you might see the benefits of that.
Maybe. I don't think so, but you never know. Like, I think we're probably going to go down the foreign route again. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. We've obviously signed that Jesse Randolph from Australia, or the A-League. I think he's currently
A-League signing, does he?
Yeah, he's top goal scorer in the league now from left wing, I think. So he's looking pretty good. Outside of that, obviously we don't know, but I think we'll probably go down the foreign route again. As much as I don't really want us to. I think, like you say, I think we should have went for a bit more battle hardened boys and a bit more tough and ready type of players. But as I say quite often, we'll just have to wait and see what the management team decides to do, and if the players are able to step up that we've got currently, excellent. If not, then they'll be replaced quick enough.
Do you think he should get the chance to lead them into next season?
As a form of entertainment and as the way I would want to run a football club, I would get rid of him. I think you need a coach that can make players better, and he's proven that he can. Players get worse under him, so I would get rid of him. Obviously, then you're in the field of who you're going to hire. Not a clue, mate.
As I've always said, you didn't keep a manager in a position that's not doing well because there's no obvious replacements. And the best example of that is the Motherwell manager.
Yeah, very true. He's done a great job. He'll get the Celtic job, I reckon, in the season.
I think so as well, actually. I can't... Celtic and Rangers over the past maybe 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, have turned a bit snobby towards Scottish football, I think. Mm-hmm. You only have to look at when was the last time Rangers won a treble. Well, the last time they won a treble was in 2003. Who was their manager? Their manager was Alex McLeish. Who did they get him from? Hibs.
Yeah.
Rangers and Celtic didn't really seem to do that now. They'll pick the odd player from the clubs in Scotland, but if there was a manager doing really well, they don't seem to go for him. Rangers obviously tried to get McInnes when he was at Aberdeen. He turned them down on that occasion. But you've got this guy here doing it in your league. He's right in front of you. I honestly would be amazed if Celtic didn't at least attempt to try and get him.
Got to. He's the best manager in the league. I firmly believe that. He's making Motherwell a really exciting prospect to watch. And they play very good football, efficient football. They're getting the results, so they've got to approach him. They'd be stupid not to. But I digress. United, I reckon, end of the season, say thank you to Jim Goodwin and let him go on his way and try and bring someone else in.
Well, I don't think that's out with the realms of possibility, to be honest. But we'll move on to the weekend's score predictions now. I don't know if you kept tabs on what we done last week and what the scores were and whatnot, but I had a really good week. I think this is the highest scoring week I've had so far. So,
God, that'll be your top.
So went into the week with myself on 17 points and you on 18 points. So the Dundee Hibs game was a 3-3 draw. I went 1-1, you went 2-2, so we both picked up a point there with the correct outcome, not the correct scoreline. So that a point apiece there. Then for Motherwell against United, the game was 2-0 Motherwell. I went with 2-0 Motherwell and you went 3-0 Motherwell, so I picked up another 2 points. So 3 points for the weekend, which puts me on to 20 points and yourself on 19. So I now lead the way.
How does that work?
Because I started on 17.
I had 18 and I got 2 points. 20 points each.
How could you get 2 points?
Motherwell and draw.
So you did. My maths is absolutely shocking. Yeah, you're right enough, Jack. Well done.
Thank you.
I wasn't trying to screw you over. I'm just an idiot. Yeah, you're right. So we're both on 20 points. My apologies. I'll update that when I'm in my work tomorrow. There we go. Perfect. So we'll cover the rest of the weekend's card as well whilst we're doing some of the scores. So Dundee 3, Hibernian 3, a massive result at Falkirk. Falkirk 5, Kilmarnock 1. Hearts maintained their status at the top of the league. Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0. Livingston still can't win a game. Livingston 1, St Mirren 1. And Motherwell 2, United 0. Moving on to Sunday in the big match in Glasgow. Rangers 2, Celtic 2. So, Jack, big week for United. They've obviously welcomed St Mirren to Tannadice tomorrow night in a big game in the league. But probably a bigger game is their trip to Falkirk on Friday in the Scottish Cup. So, discuss.
Yeah, St Mirren aren't on a good run at the moment. I think they've conceded 4 against Killie and 5 against Motherwell in the last few weeks. They've also drew Livy, like you said. So they're not on a good run of form. United also aren't on a good run of form. I think St Mirren are a team where if you take it to them this season, they'll crumble. And we both know that Goodwin isn't going to set us up like that. I think it'll be a close game. I think it's going to be a physical game. I believe it's at St Mirren. I might be wrong. If it is, it'll be at least on a semi-decent pitch.
No, it's at Tannadice. It's one of the games that was postponed.
Okay, so Tannadice. So it's not going to be on a great pitch, but hopefully the pitch has recovered a bit since then. Like that'll probably make it a bit more of a dogged affair overall, though it's not going to be a lot of quality there. I see. Yeah, it could suit us. Set pieces are where we're getting more goals, so I think we've got a chance of winning that one. As for Falkirk, I wasn't confident last time round and we managed to beat them. I'm not confident again. They've just, like you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, put 5 past Killie. I think they're going to be flying high from that result. And United are a bit battered and bruised at the moment. Obviously, it depends on the result against St Mirren. If we do well there, we could be flying high as well. I think it's going to be a close game. Cup games are always pretty close and can be fun to watch. I think Falkirk probably edge it. I just think Goodwin's a bit too negative, as already mentioned, and so yeah, I think it could be an okay week for us. Obviously, we'd like to progress in the Scottish Cup, but I think we take a win against St Mirren and a loss against Falkirk. That's just my opinion, though.
So your game on Friday night's live on the telly. I think it's on BBC Scotland, so you'll be able to watch that.
Yeah, if I remember.
We do know that you don't tend to watch games live on telly. It's not really your thing, is it?
No.
Nah,
I'm bored for that.
To be honest with you, I feel the same way. It's probably not from boredom, but you'll cast your mind back to when we watched the derby that time in Magaluf, and I just a bag of jaggies when I watched football on the telly. And I've said this before on the podcast. I've set at the game and I'm quite the thing. I very rarely get nervous, all that sort of thing. But when I'm watching a game on telly, I just can't handle it. It's like you don't feel like you've got any sort of control, even though when you're at the match you don't have any control whatsoever either. But it's just.
I think when you're at the game, it gives you a chance to like release your emotions. You can shout, you can scream, you can sing, you can jump about. Whereas in the house or in the pub, you can't really do that. So
Yeah.
That's probably why you're always on edge.
And if they progress past Falkirk and get their way into a semi, I take it you'll be wanting a day trip to Hampden, surely.
Of course. It's been a few years now since I've been at Hampden, so I'd absolutely take it.
Well, there we go. Moving on to Dundee, obviously no midweek game for Dundee, but they do welcome Motherwell on Saturday to Dens, both teams out the Scottish Cup. After all we've said about Motherwell earlier when they faced United, I'd very much anticipate Stephen Presley to line up his team, maybe not totally the same, because he'll be wanting Dundee to put their strengths forward, and our strengths are our wingers, our attacking players. But I think it's going to be very, very similar. We'll probably be cautious to begin with and then see how the game progresses. I've only seen Motherwell once this season. It was very early on. We went 1-0 down. We were taking a bit of a tanking, and then we managed to get a goal back in the second half and ended up drawing 1-1. The two games this season against Motherwell have been very tight, 1-1 and 1-0. So I'd expect something fairly similar in all honesty. But I do think it's going to be too much for Dundee. Motherwell are obviously trying to keep themselves in the hunt for the title, which is mental to say, but that's where they are at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know what you think.
Tough game. Motherwell are flying, like I say. Put us to the sword. Dundee, I feel like recently have been a better team than United, so I think it will be a closer game. I think Motherwell have probably got a bit too much about them this time for Dundee, even though Dundee are on a decent run of form at the minute. I think Motherwell are just pushing for Champions League places, Europa League places, the title even. I think they're going to be right up for it, and Dundee have to match them for the intensity. If they can do that, it'll be a close game. If not, I think Motherwell probably get the result.
You know what I'd like to see, because this is what you tend to not see in Scottish football. So, like, next season, it'll be a big... So, Hearts are obviously doing very well this season, as are Motherwell. Celtic and Rangers, by their normal standards, have been quite poor. Celtic and Rangers will kick on next season and improve. That's just the nature of the beast in Scotland. They've got plenty of money to do it. I mean, I don't think Celtic or Rangers can get any worse. They'll probably improve. It'll be interesting to see what Hearts do, because Hearts have got that base and where they've got all these players. They've also got a bit of money behind them now, and they've got the thing with the boy from Brighton. Will they add to that without losing what they've got? Motherwell are an interesting one for me, because I'd like to see more where a Scottish team has a good season, like for example Motherwell this season, and then they don't lose anything and add. So they don't lose Masonise, they don't lose Just, they don't lose Elliot Watt, and they keep their manager, add a few players and see how they go next season, especially in Europe. Because, for example, you've got Hibs. So Hibs last season started off really, really bad, and they kicked on and went on a really, really good run and managed to finish third. And they deserved to finish third. They didn't necessarily lose many players. I think they lost to Yantis and maybe one or two others, but they never really added really, really well. They've done relatively decently in Europe. I think they were to kick a minute or so away from knocking Legia Warsaw out, and they could have maybe got to the group stage through that. They played very well against Midtjylland, who have done very well in the Europa League, but it'd be interesting to see what would happen if Scottish clubs could retain their best players and managers for a couple of years to see how they kicked on. But yeah, probably as a fan of a club in a similar size to Motherwell, you're wanting them to lose their best players and their managers so that we get better than them.
Yeah, that's very true, mate. I think Motherwell will struggle to keep a hold of the manager, like we mentioned earlier. He's just I think a step above, and I think they'll end up at Celtic. But you never know. Managers have turned down big moves before, and if they can keep a hold of them and bring in some players, then and keep a hold of like Masonise and Watt and whatnot, I think they've got a great chance of pushing again next season.
Definitely. So, Jack, Falkirk versus United, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-1 Falkirk.
Okay, and Dundee versus Motherwell, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-1 Motherwell.
Okay, so I have went for 2-1 United against Falkirk, and I have went for 2-0 Motherwell against Dundee. So, slightly different. But I'll get those logged in and I'll get your points updated because I'm not a cheat. As for this week, we have moved on to match day or game week or whatever you want to say, number 30 in the Futbology Challenge. As you could probably predict, and going along with the theme of the season, Jack had a forfeit week. There is a target I'm wanting to set Jack. Now, it's obviously only luck of the draw if he reaches this or not. but you're currently sitting on 19 points in the league.
Right.
I would love to see if you could make 25.
Okay, we'll wait and see. I'm going to push for the title. Watch this.
Okay then. Anyway, myself and Martin both had draws, so that means I retain my 1 point lead at the top of the league. This week I had a game from Wednesday, March the 2nd, 2022. Dundee 0, Hibs 0, a crowd of 5,237. The managers were Mark McGee and Sean Maloney. For Dundee, their team was Ian Lawler, Cammy Kerr, Jordan Marshall, Jordan McGee, Ryan Sweeney, Charlie Adam, Max Anderson, Paul McGowan, Niall McGinn, Paul McMillan and Danny Millen. And on the bench, Harrison Sharp, Lee Ashcroft, Vontae Daly Campbell, Liam Fontaine, Zeno Ibsen Rossi, Sean Byrne, Jay Chapman, Declan McDade and Josh Mulligan. As for Hibs, their team was Dabrowski, Doig, Porteous, Stevenson, Bashiri, Wright, Doyle Hayes, Cadden, Campbell, Henderson and Doige. And on the bench, Jasper, Haig, Melkerson, Mitchell, McGregor, De Ferrier, McIntyre, Allen and Blaney. So there was no score. Bashiri was sent off in the 58th minute by referee David Munro. As for Martin's game, his game was from Saturday, March the 2nd, 2024. Partick Thistle against United at Firhill in the Championship, a crowd of 4,448. The managers were Chris Doolan and Jim Goodwin. For Partick, their team was Mitchell, McMillan, Muirhead, Nielsen, Milne, Macbeth, Williams, Lawless, Robinson, Fitzpatrick and Graham. On the bench, McEnroy, Bannigan, Ngwenya, Alston, Stewart, Stanway, Mackenzie, Diak and Adeloy. For United, their team was Walton, Gallagher, Holt, McMahon, Docherty, Fotheringham, Middleton, Sibbald, Thompson, Grieve and Moult. And on the bench, Newman, Graham, Grimshaw, McClelland, Cujo, Meekison, Mockery, Tilson and Watt. The scorers were Brian Graham on 3 minutes and Louis Moult on 67. 1-1 draw there, so point apiece for me and Martin, which moves us up the league slightly away from Jack, who thinks he's going to win the league somehow, but don't know about that.
One can dream.
One can dream. That moves us on nicely to the latest instalment of our monthly top 5. So the monthly top 5 for March. It was Jack's turn to pick the subject, and he has went for laws of football that you would change. Now, before we get into this, Jack, I'd interestingly seen a tweet from Barry Anderson, who is a journalist in Edinburgh, a sports journalist. And he put up a tweet, I think it was on Saturday, I took a screenshot of it, from new laws that are getting brought in, that are getting trialled at the World Cup, and then it'll get brought in properly afterwards for the leagues. So I'll just read you the tweet. New laws and VAR changes in football effective from World Cup. So VAR can check corners and second yellow cards, 5-second countdown for throw-ins and goal kicks, I think very similar to when the keeper has the ball in his hands. 10 seconds to complete sub, or the sub waits a full minute, which I really like, and players must go off for 1 minute if they need an injury stoppage, also like that a lot. So those are new rules getting brought into football next season, Jack. As for your laws that are getting brought in, or laws that you would like to see get brought in, what is your number 5?
So I've just done mine's not in any particular order. I've just wrote 5 laws. And the first law was one you mentioned a few weeks ago now, and it was that the clock doesn't stop. Basically, the clock stops when the ball goes out of play, and you reduce the game length to, say, 70 minutes, and you let the game play for 70 minutes with the ball in play. I think stops time waste, set-piece time wasting and whatnot. If the ball's out for a throw-in, teams didn't hold on for it for a minute, hoping to kill some time. And you get more action overall out of the game. So, yeah, that'll be my number 5.
Okay. I think some of these are, like, I just threw a few together. Some of them will probably show how angry I am as a person, to be honest with you, and some of them will show how much of a weirdo I am as well. My first one is shin guards. I find it absolutely infuriating now when you see these players wearing the smallest shin guards imaginable, and then they wonder how they're getting all these injuries. Jack Grealish springs to mind. Why is he wearing these socks like that? And he's got his shin guards are about the size of a fag packet, and his whole shin is exposed to injury. Another one I'd throw in there is when they cut the holes in the back of their socks. Yeah,
Yeah, I
ban
know what you
them,
mean.
ban that, ban that, ban that, and put proper shin guards as a rule. Yeah, so that's my number 5. What's your number 4?
Number 4, I've went with a sin bin system. I think if you get a yellow card, you should go off for 5-10 minutes, cool out, and then get brought back on. There should be more of a punishment for getting a yellow card than just receiving a yellow card with the threat of getting sent off,
I agree with that, but only on certain things.
such as.
So I think that you could take away certain red card scenarios for a sin bin, as opposed to adding yellow cards as a sin bin, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
I get where you're coming from.
like for example, the new word that everybody says, dogzo, denial of a goal scoring opportunity, I think could be a sin bin for 10 minutes as opposed to a red card.
Mm. Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. I could see that working. For me, number 4 is referees at corners speaking to players. Gets right on my tits. That. Why is it that why is it that at a corner or a free kick situation, the referee goes over and warns players, and then 9 times oh no, 10 times out of 10 do absolutely nothing about it. By so, for example, if you've got a corner, right, and the defending team is grappling with the attacking team, the ball comes in the box. How many times does the ref give a penalty? 0.
Yeah.
How many times does the ref give a free kick to the defending team? Quite a lot. Now, if you're a defending team, then it's surely within your nature to wanting to scrap, wanting to grapple. So you're going to be the aggravator in that situation. So you would think you'd be the one giving away more fouls, which mystifies me. If you've got some time after we've stopped recording tonight, go on YouTube and watch the highlights from the Arsenal-Chelsea game yesterday. Fucking ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. Watch Declan Rice just before Chelsea's equaliser, the handball that Declan Rice got away with. It is mystifying. But going back to my original point, referees going over and going, no, stop it, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But they didn't do that in any other situation in a football game. So why don't they give a corner or give a free kick, let the team set up for the corner or the free kick or whatever it is, and then let the freeze happen, and if there's a foul, give the foul. They didn't go over to any other scenario in football and say, watch what you're doing or I'm going to give a foul. So yeah, that's my number 4. I know it's a bit pernickety, but it gets right on my nerves. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is the terrace challenge system for VAR. I think clubs should get maybe 2 challenges for VAR, and that's the only time VAR gets checked, is if a club or a coaching staff sees a tackle and goes, I want that checked for VAR. Or if the opposition scores a goal, I want that checked. If it's a correct check, you get your VAR challenge back. If not, you lose that challenge and nothing happens. I think it's fair. It stops VAR intervening every possible opportunity, and it brings that element of challenging and fairness into the teams themselves, and so they have to come up with whether they want to challenge it or not. I think it's a better system overall.
Yeah, I know we spoke about that not too long ago. I think I'd have it similar, but not exactly the same. Whereas I'd have it where offsides and factual decisions were still in VAR's remit, but subjective decisions like was it a handball, is it not a handball, all that sort of thing should be a club's discretion where they can ask for that to be checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So like
so either
offsides are either onside or offside. There's no argument to what is and isn't. So
yeah.
you can give the referees can have the offsides they're factual. Everything else is subjective in football. So yeah, so that would be how I would have it, but it's your rule. Number 3 for me is similar to what we spoke about earlier on, or what I said in that guy's tweet, is players going off after the physio comes on. Because it's turning into a bit of a joke now in football, where it's like a manager gets the other manager into his office before the match and says, right, you have a guy go down in the first half and I'll have a guy go down in the second half, and then what we'll do is we'll all get our whole team into the dugout and we'll have a meeting halfway through the half. It's absolutely been amusing. Like, I've paid £25 or whatever, £30 to come and watch this. I've not paid £30 for you to have a meeting with your players halfway through the half.
Right, I'm going to play devil's advocate for this here. What if a goalie goes down injured? Does he go off the pitch for a minute?
What if a goalie goes down injured?
Yeah, does he go off the pitch for a minute?
Put somebody in net until he comes back on.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work like.
Well, the thing is, Jack, right, is that see if you were to enforce this rule properly, right, the goalie wouldn't go down injured unless he was actually injured. And that's the point. That's the whole point in this rule is to stop it from happening. Now, one of the most infuriating things for me in football is when there's a cross into the box or a long throw or whatever, and the defending team goes up for it, wins the header, and then all of a sudden the boy's got a head injury. Now, the referees, for some reason over the past few years, have decided to get half lenient on head injuries, where I thought when it was a head injury, you stop the match straight away. What they'll do is they'll let play develop for a few seconds until they decide what they're going to do, and then they'll give the stoppage in play. Now, what happens then after that is that the attacking team lose the ball to the defending team for the drop ball. How is that fair? But if there was a case where if you were defending a corner and you went up to header it and you won it, and there was fuck all wrong with you, and you went down holding your head, and you had to go off the pitch for a minute or 30 seconds or something, and for that minute the attacking team's still attacking, would you go down injured and risk that when there's nothing wrong with you?
Yeah, that's true.
So it would stamp out proper cheating. Now, I understand that you can't have it both ways, where if a boy is genuinely injured, it's a hard one to swallow, but there used to be a case years ago where you didn't even get treatment on the pitch. You had to go off to get treatment. Now we allow treatment on the pitch, so I know that there's always going to be cheating, but it's to stamp out as much as possible. Anyway, what's number 2 for you?
Number 2 was a rule that Arsene Wenger wanted to put in a few years ago now, and it's the moving offside, so the person basically whole body has to be past the last defender for it to count as an offside. So if a boy his foot is past the defender, that doesn't count as offside. The boy's entire body, his feet, his torso, his head, everything has to be past the last defender for it to count as offside. I think it opens up the game a bit more. You'll see a bit tactical shifting. Teams will sit back a bit more, but there are also going to be more opportunities to run in behind defences. I think it just opens up the game more, and it makes it maybe a more exciting prospect overall. So yeah, that's my number 2.
That's getting announced today, I think it was. That's getting trialled next season in the Canadian Premier League.
Class.
I think personally it's just solving a problem and creating a new one. All it's doing is making it exactly the same way in reverse.
I'm not doing it in terms of for the offside drill. I'm doing it in terms of having it open up the game a bit more.
I understand that side of things. I just think that when you see, like, you hear a lot of people just now moaning about when somebody's fucking ball hair's offside, and they're like, oh, his ball hair's offside, like, he's not offside, da 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 da. It's going to be exactly the same way in the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. But it's already a problem as is, so it's not really going to change much that way.
For number 2, mine's is another very pernickety one, but see, when I tell you, I think you're going to understand where I'm coming from, right? So a free kick is given, and a player stands in front of the ball or picks the ball up and runs 20 yards and throws the ball back, right? My rule would be, as soon as the referee gives a free kick to a team, the opposition team is not allowed to touch the ball, and if they do, they get booked. There's
Yeah, not
there's
terrible.
nothing more infuriating than that, mate. And the other one
But
is when
then
they stand in front of the
there's obviously going to be situations where the ball's next to let's say the opposition's goalkeeper of the foul. Is he just meant to leave it there and wait for the team that received the foul to go and get it?
I understand that, and I think common sense should be used. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that sort of thing's common sense. The referee should use that, but mine just more for players standing in front of the ball or the free kick's given and it spills to another player on the other team who's just had a foul given against them and they chip the ball into their hands and run 20 yards in the pitch to get back into position and then chuck the ball 5 yards in front of them so that the other team has to come that 15 yards to get the ball, go back again, take the free kick, and then all advantage of getting the free kick is lost.
Mm.
So that would be what I would have. So what's the big reveal? What's number one for yourself?
So my last one is probably one you wouldn't expect. I think you probably might not agree with it, and it is very rogue. I would change the penalty box to a semicircle, and it would prevent boys from, as soon as they touch that box, they could be nowhere near the goal, they could be facing the wrong way, and they can go down and get a penalty. And I don't find that very fair. I think the semicircle should be, say, half the size of the box, and if you're inside that semicircle, you're clearly within a good angle to hit the target. And if you get fouled inside that semicircle, then it's clearly a penalty because you are within such a range of the goal, and you are in a position there you're almost guaranteed to hit it on target. Outside of that box, where the current box is, you look at the box and you could, like I say, you could be on the very corner of that penalty box. You're not really in a good situation to hit the target. Obviously, position depending on how players line up or whatnot. But chances are it's not a great goal scoring opportunity. And you can still go down and then you manage to move the ball from there right in front of the goalkeeper to the centre spot. I don't find that fair at all. I think it should still be a free kick from there. So, yeah, I'm changing the full penalty box area into a semicircle.
Very rogue. That's not what I was
Yeah.
expecting. But no, I like the idea of that. I do like the idea of that. For number one for me, I think it's the least expected thing in the world is the clock stopping. I would have two halves of 40 and have an 80-minute game similar to rugby, and you'd have the clock stopping when it goes out for a throw in, goes out for a goal kick, substitutes are made, the referee stops the game for a foul. I would also have the referee is not in charge of timekeeping. It could either be in VAR HQ with an AVAR or the fourth official keeps count, and they are the ones who know the time. They could pass that on to the broadcasters so that the broadcasters know exactly where we are uh, in terms of how long to go in the match and whatnot. And I think it would bring an end to all the things, and I know that I've spoken about this before, that football tries to bring in to stop time wasting. So, like they brought in that rule at the beginning of the season with the goalkeeper having the ball in his hands. I watch that every week. The referees give them about 10 seconds before they start counting down. It's meant to be 3. They give them far too much leeway. They're bringing in this new one where it's going to be the same from, is it throw-ins and goal kicks, I think I said. They didn't need to bring in all these new rules if they just stopped the clock. We could all go away for a fag, have a cup of tea, read the paper and come back and the boy could take his throw in and he's not gained any time from it. We're starting exactly the same place as when the ball left. And we've still got the same amount of time as what we'd had when the ball went out, as I say. Now, I know that you're going to get a lot of people who say, well, we'll be at the football for hours and it's blah, blah, blah. I've been to sports games in America, right? I don't understand why we as a society love football so much, yet when we're actually at the match, we're desperate not to be at the match. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, yeah, you go to American football and you're there for 3.5, 4 hours. It's a long time. But you wait all week getting excited to be at that stadium doing something that you love and a hobby you enjoy why would you then want to just leave? I didn't get it. I understand that when your team's getting pumped, you leave. Like, I understand that, but why do you want to be in the ground for a shorter period of time as possible? It just doesn't commute in my head. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, clock stopping. It would solve a lot of problems in football, a lot of gripes that I have in football personally as well. Yeah, so that's my number one. But that brings us to the end of this week's episode, episode 35. As always, if you could follow us on our socials, we are on Twitter at SandemanSTPod, Instagram at the Sandeman Street Pod, and on YouTube we are at the Sandeman Street Podcast. If you could give us a follow, a subscribe on all them, like our videos, retweet, share, all that stuff, that would be great. Next week we'll be back with our latest Derby special, where we'll take on another quiz. So hopefully I have some guests on there to help myself and Jack out in the quiz. Dundee are the reigning champions in that with my victory in the New Year Derby. So Jack will be hoping to take the crown this time round. By the looks of it, we'll get a fourth Derby as well. So there should hopefully be another couple of quizzes, another couple of Derby specials to look forward to. So thanks very much for listening. If you have a monthly top 5 of your own for this month's subject, maybe drop us a comment on the YouTube video and let us know what you think. But thanks very much for listening as always, and have a great weekend. Cheers.